Hey, what's up, guys? Unanimous Sports here today with just Mike and I. We are AP doing some uni work. Respect the grind. Yeah, today's 30th of July. It was draft day. Is it draft day in America? I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
figure that one out. But obviously, yeah. So today's 30th of July, draft day. And we had a massive NBA trade today in Russell Westbrook moving to the Lakers. Today we're going to discuss a few topics. We're going to talk about Cade Cunningham, the Australian Josh Giddey going at pick 6, which was a huge surprise. We're going to be talking. We're going to be talking about where does Ben Simmons go. We're going to be talking about Giannis. You know, is he getting up there in that GOAT discussion? We'll have a chat about it. But I think we'll start today, Mike, with the Russell Westbrook trade. What are your thoughts?
I don't know. I think the Lakers have done the best they can with what they have. Getting rid of Kuzma is probably a good thing. Trez wasn't used that much in the final or in the regular season in crunch time and stuff like that. So I think they got a pretty good piece. I'm worried about the fit there though. Like Russell Westbrook, we obviously know Westbrook. Everyone's seen his stats in the playoffs, and whatever it counts is like shooting 5 for 20. Um, and I don't know, like they have Drummond in the paint there, and obviously LeBron as well. He's gotten a lot better at shooting, but he's no Steph Curry or anything like that. So I'm a bit worried about the fit in terms of where is the shooting going to be with that starting lineup of Russ, Wes Matthews, LeBron, Davis, and Drummond. Like Davis can shoot again, but he's not. He's no specialist. Can't just
Yeah,
have him on the 3 point line the whole game. Um, so if Davis wants to post up, Drummond can only really play in the posts, and then you have Westbrook who drives every other possession. Don't know how like they're gonna spread the floor there. So that's probably
yeah,
my first reaction there.
yeah. It definitely makes for an interesting dynamic for the team. You know, the kind of the Lakers. Uh, in my opinion, what they were looking for this offseason was shooters, and they're obviously going to have to figure out a way to do that on limited cap space. But like for me, when I first heard it, kind of my initial thoughts were why Westbrook. But you're adding a top 5 point guard in the league, and I think whenever you're doing so to a team, you're making that team better. And it's now up to the Lakers to find the right pieces to surround your 3 All Stars with. Like you got LeBron, one of the greatest to ever do it. Anthony Davis, a lot of people say the best big man in the league, two-way big man in the league, because Jokic is by far the best offensive big. Anyway, and you add Westbrook, and it's going to be an interesting dynamic in terms of how often does LeBron run the court, and how often does Westbrook run the court. But for me, I look to the Brooklyn Nets when they added Harden. Everyone kind of questioned this move. What are they doing? They've already got Curry, they've got KD, they've got scorers. They don't need another one. But
Mm.
if it wasn't for injuries, Brooklyn were winning the title this year, and we can debate that a bit. But I think the Lakers will be able to make it work. I reckon they'll be able to make it work.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, Westbrook is going home as well, so maybe. I mean, he's been playing with passion though. Even with the Wizards, I'm not sure if he averaged a triple double again, but I know he was pretty close. If he
I
didn't,
believe so.
um, and I mean, look, best case scenario, he fits perfectly, helps take the load off from LeBron. During the regular season, LeBron obviously injured, and the Lakers failed
Mm.
to make the playoffs. Um, and like, yeah, best case scenario, Westbrook helps with that, becomes the kind of second primary ball handler, maybe playing off the bench a little bit more with the bench unit. But obviously, for this lineup to work, the Lakers and LeBron, led GM, they need to add some pieces and some minimum players, like
For
because they don't
sure.
have any
But
salary
I
cap.
think so that's kind of the big draw. You're in LA. You're playing for one of the most historical franchises in the league. So you've already
Mm.
got that as a draw, as like a big market team. You've already got Andre Drummond, who's taken 800,000. So he's on a veteran minimum already. It's kind of shows that people are willing to take sacrifices to play with LeBron, to play with Westbrook. A lot of people say he's the best teammate that they've played with, and now you look at someone like a JJ Redick, who's kind of late in his career there, who would fit perfectly, I think, for the Lakers, that kind of 3-point weapon, where you wouldn't need to handle the ball at all when you've got LeBron and Westbrook. Defensively, obviously, not your strongest
Yeah.
addition, but I think the Lakers are going to look to add shooters. And there's also been talk of DeMar DeRozan. He'd be willing to take less money. He's now in the point of his career where he wants to win. He's been a great player for many years in this league. Mid-range specialist. So if somehow, some way, the Lakers could pull that off, if DeRozan wants to take a big pay cut, maybe, I don't know, there could be some stuff going on off court or something like that. LeBron promises him this and this in the future, but.
I mean, I don't know if adding DeRozan would help though. Like, he can't shoot threes. Westbrook can't shoot threes. Drummond can't shoot threes. That's a recipe for disaster, I think. And we all know. We all know the league is pretty 3-point driven these days.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're right. Like, they do need to add these pieces through free agency. The people who want that draw of the Lakers, the draw of playing in LA, playing with LeBron. But look, they're going to be playing against a Warriors team who's getting Clay back. They're going to have to play against, the Suns. I don't know if Chris Paul's staying or not, or if they'll trade him, but they'll have to play against the Suns, who have shown that they're legit. By beating the Clippers, they're going to have to play the Clippers. And then they're going to have to play the Nets or the Bucks in the finals. So do I think Russell Westbrook makes them better? Yeah, probably. And it will probably help them, over the season. Like, it's an 82-game season. You need to survive injuries and make it to the playoffs, which the Lakers didn't do with Davis and LeBron. And I think that, like, if we're looking at it overall, I don't think Russell Westbrook takes them over the edge to become a proper contender. LeBron's old.
Westbrook's pretty old. He's 30. LeBron's 36. Westbrook 32. And the Lakers are in that win now kind of period. They've got their franchise man in AD for the next. They want him to be the future of LA. I'd imagine. There has been talks about moving him and this and that, but now that the Lakers have that big three, which is that's what everyone's kind of aspiring towards, is having the 3 stars. But with Westbrook and LeBron being similar kind of playmaking, could we say that complement each other in a weird way, where Westbrook isn't always having to run the plays as such, but it is an odd fit. It is an odd fit. But I think Westbrook and LeBron have a good connection off the court. I'm pretty sure they're they're Brodies. I think.
Yeah, I think they are. Yeah, for sure. And obviously, time will tell. Maybe we're completely wrong, and Westbrook becomes a freak. Like, he can hit threes. It's not all the time.
He is a freak. He will go down the Hall of Fame. He's a top 5 point guard in the league at the moment. So many people say that he's the best teammate that they've played with, and a lot of people call him selfish for taking ill-advised shots, which he does do. But maybe that kind of that mentorship from LeBron would help him a lot. The pick and roll with AD, that's going to be scary, because we had the LeBron AD pick and roll. You now add the Westbrook AD pick and roll. You can't leave LeBron open, so it's kind of adding a new dynamic to that Lakers team. And yeah, I definitely think the Lakers can make it work, and obviously they're going to be contending, but will they make it out of the West? Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I think the key is the rest of this offseason. Like, with free agency, they need to nail that. They need to get anyone possible who will play for a vet min to help complement these guys, because as is, I don't think that they're much better than they were. But
yeah, because we look at who they lost. They lose Kyle Kuzma, who's copped a lot of flack over these past few seasons, and I think going to the Wizards is the best thing for Kyle Kuzma. I think watch for him to be one of the most improved in the league. I think he is capable of scoring high. Oh, I'm not going to say high 20s. I'm going to say he's capable of scoring mid 20 points per game. I'll give Kuzma 23 points per game next season at the Wizards. And they lose KCP. He was pivotal in that championship run that they had in the bubble. And they lose Montrezl Harrell, who I think the Lakers misused in the past, the season that they had him. I think they really misused Trez. So I think that the Wizards kind of they acquire three pieces to add to Beal, and I think it's not a bad deal for the Wizards. I think obviously they would have liked for Westbrook and Beal to kind of contend in the East, but I don't think the Wizards are in that window right now. So we've got to kind of look at it from the Wizards' perspective as well. I think they've done quite well with what they've got for Westbrook, and
for sure
could be a win. Could be one of those win-win trades.
I don't think it will be. I think it's going to crash and burn. But let us know what you think of the comments in the chat, and we'll see what everyone has to say. Moving on to our next topic. Obviously, the draft was today, and we have Cade Cunningham going first overall to the Detroit Pistons. Do you like that pick? Do you hate the pick?
I like the pick for Detroit. I think whenever you have the number one pick, you should always be looking to draft the best player in the draft. And I think that is Cade Cunningham. He averaged 20 points per game in his first season. He's a 6'8" guard wing, 7'1" wingspan, which is nothing to be laughed at. So he's got the body already of an NBA player. And fantastic in pick and roll offense. Like, do Detroit want him to be the face of their franchise? I think he definitely could be. They obviously had Killian Hayes as, I think, pick 5 or 6 last year. And how the relationship between Cunningham and Hayes works together will be an interesting one. I know Hayes was still coming off the bench, both very young. And then you've got Jeremy Grant, who was second in most improved. What do they do with Jeremy Grant? Is that kind of the fit that they're looking for? We also had today on on the draft day, the Pistons let go of Mason Plumlee, which freed up $8 million cap space. They traded him for pick 57. I'm not sure even who Detroit drafted for him, which I probably should know. Apologies. But for me, I do like the pick. I think that he's definitely a rookie of the year contender. He's got that potential to be. Lost my train of thought.
I think look, he has been compared to Luka, and there's like a bunch of analysts who say that prospect wise he's the most polished prospect, second to Luka, that they've seen. Obviously Luka was doing it against grown men in the EuroLeague. Cunningham has only played in college. So the jump from the EuroLeague to the NBA is probably it is bigger than the jump from the college to
smaller. I'd say
smaller. Yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean.
Because just to add to that, just quickly, Luka actually has said that it's easier to score in the NBA than it was in the EuroLeague because of that offense free NBA at the moment.
And the foul driving, like the foul rules are changing this year as well. Like you can't gain a foul off a non-basketball move, which is what Trae Young, Harden have become so notorious for. So, I mean, that's going to change the stuff for everyone else. That'll be another topic. But Cade Cunningham, like you said, he 6'8", 7 foot wingspan or 7'1" wingspan. You're probably going to be a decent defender, especially if you put in effort. And he is a physical defender. He puts in the effort. He does lack like a lot of explosiveness and burst, which, and just I guess like general athleticism, like top end athleticism. He's an NBA prospect. He's going to be athletic, but that top end athleticism for the people he might be guarding. He's 6'8" guard. He's probably going to be going up against people like Westbrook, who we just talked about, the LeBrons of the world, the Lukas, the bigger guards. And does he have the athleticism to keep up? I don't know in the NBA, but offensively, he can shoot. He's a pretty good ball handler. Probably not the best in the draft, but he's up there. And he has all the tools that they need. But again, we have to look at the team that they have. I don't think it's a bad fit. I think he'll do well. Personally, they have Sadiq Bey, who I was a big fan of last season,
This is true.
last draft, and he's lit it up, shooting from three, been a good defender. He'll slot into that 2 or 3 position. They have Jeremy Grant, who again was lighting it up last year. I think he averaged mid 20s.
Yep.
And guard wise, I think the Pistons will have good complementary pieces for Cunningham to succeed. Good pieces to pass to, facilitate to. Um, Still worried about the forward, like the power forward, the 4 and the 5, um, with the Pistons. But young team, good outlook for the next 5 years. Will they win now? Probably not. Um,
I'm gonna go definitely not. Is where
will they win in 5 years? Maybe. Um, you could also look at Cunningham potentially being put in a trade package. They, like I said, or maybe not Cunningham, but like the other pieces. You have Hayes, who's a point guard, and then you have Cunningham, who's pretty much a point guard.
Yep.
Do they trade some of the other pieces? Maybe trade Jeremy Grant while his stock's high. Maybe for an All-Star. Maybe for a Ben Simmons, which is another topic later.
This is true, but like I think the Pistons have kind of accepted that they're not in that win now period right yet. Cunningham will take maybe not a few. It will take a few seasons to be kind of that NBA star level.
Yeah.
But you look at what he has already. He's got that defensive potential, as you talked on. He's got that ability to create his own shot when if he continues to work on that. But he shot 44, 40, and 84 splits at college, so he's shooting 40% from three. You know that he's got that kind of NBA
Yeah.
skill that so many people require these days. And then fantastic in the pick and roll as well, which with the Pistons letting go of Plumlee, they're obviously looking for a big man to kind of pair with Cunningham. So maybe, I'm not sure obviously how much pull like a rookie is going to have in who the Pistons sign, but I think with the Pistons now securing Cunningham, what they're going to look for is who's going to complement him the best, and like who's going to be able to mentor him, who's going to be able to work with him over these next few years, which is so pivotal in his development.
Yeah.
And look, Cunningham is great basketball IQ, elite playmaking ability, and I see no reason why he can't win Rookie of the Year this year, which is what you want from your rookie.
For sure. And like just to kind of add a final point, he's been probably the first, he's been the first number 1 pick for the Pistons in a long time.
Yep.
They need to invest everything into making sure he succeeds. They haven't had a great track record in the past of developing any superstars or anything like that, especially with the current front office. And I think that if they continue with the way they've been doing things, then he's probably not going to succeed. Like, there's only so much he can do, but they have to develop him properly. They have to make sure that they keep him as well. They've lost a bunch of good players,
Yeah.
like a Blake Griffin, like a Drummond, because things just haven't worked out because the front office hasn't gotten it together. But I think he is in a place where he will get the ball a lot. And if that's what he needs, if he has a bad year, I wouldn't write him off even if he has a bad year. I think they're just going to give him the ball and just play him 30 minutes a game and just say good luck and obviously try to develop him, and maybe he'll become better from that.
Yeah, kind of throwing him in the deep end, I suppose. But we'll have to see how it all plays out for Cade Cunningham. There's a reason he was the number 1 pick. He's been kind of projected to be the number 1 pick all year, and we'll see how it goes for him.
For sure. The next prospect, obviously, we're Aussie. Josh Giddey, drafted 6th overall to OKC. A lot of people weren't happy about it. I know Australians are pretty proud about it. What are your thoughts on the fit? Well, on the pick in general.
Look, for me, I think it's a good pick for OKC. They've obviously how many first round picks they have coming up over the next few years. They're planning to win to win a title in 5 years time, maybe a bit sooner. They got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA. He's developing into an NBA star. And they add Josh Giddey, who, in my opinion, is the best playmaker in the draft. He's played a season in the NBL, the Australian League here. Averaged 11 points, 7 rebounds, 7.5 assists. So, kind of close to that triple-double. Very similar numbers to what LaMelo averaged in his season
I
down
think
here in
better.
Australia.
I think better. I
Better.
think he
So there you go.
led the
There you
league in
go.
assists at
Well,
18.
so yeah, at 18, that's the other big point here is that you're drafting a guy who's 4 years younger than a lot of prospects that come out of college. He's going to be there developing his game at an NBA level for the next however many years he's in the league, and that kind of goes perfectly with OKC's timeline that they have to winning a championship. You want all your players peaking at that 24 to 28 kind of. Obviously the NBA players are getting longer and longer career spans now. But
Yeah.
the younger you develop a player to an NBA level, the better. And I think you pair Josh Giddey now with an interesting team in OKC that they've built. They acquired Kemba from Boston, which was an interesting move. But you've kind of now got Josh Giddey. He will come off the bench, I'd imagine, for most of the season, and he'll learn a lot from Kemba, a veteran guard, and Shea, who's will kind of mold him into the point guard that he needs or that he wants it from him.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are your thoughts, Mike, on Josh Giddey?
I mean, obviously, kind of similar to the last prospect that we talked about, Cade Cunningham. And with Giddey, obviously, there's more of a focus on his just IQ, basketball IQ. Obviously, like we said before, led the league in assists. And his comps are Ricky Rubio. And I think that, especially early on, I think he'll have some growing pains. Obviously, he did play in the NBL, but he's probably not going to be the primary ball handler, not with the team that they have. And he hasn't shown that he's been that consistent shooting in the past.
Yep.
Shoots 29%
Yep.
from three in the NBL. And if he's mainly facilitating, I don't know how many touches he's actually going to get. So if he wants to have playing time, then he's going to have to make an impact somewhere else. Because obviously you have Kemba, who, point guard, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, he needs the ball. He's a shot creator. He'll create his own shot. And obviously the rest of the OKC roster, they have a bunch of young guards in there as well. They have Dort, who showed that he could be great. I think a season ago, in the play-in tournament. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know about this pick, to be honest. Don't think it's a great fit, to be honest. They have a lot of guards, and maybe in 5 years it will work out, but I probably wouldn't have picked him this high, unfortunately, for all the Australian fans, which are half of our fans. But I do think he'll be good. I think his floor is very high, especially if he continues to work on his shooting long term. Is he a win now piece? No, I don't think so. Does he have the potential to be a high level facilitator for the long term? Yeah, he does. Do I think he's superstar material? Maybe not. Probably not. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
probably not. But all you need is for him this year to maybe get some touches, learn to use his IQ in the NBA setting, and actually get practice doing that.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's a 6'8" guard pushing 6'9". Like as I said, I reckon he is the smartest player in the draft, in my opinion. He has that high basketball IQ at such a young age as well, and that's kind of something that's very hard to be taught. Like you can't really teach someone how to read the game. That's just natural ability and putting in your own work. And if you look at OKC, they're going to develop this young core. I think they've got 2 players over 30 in their team at the moment, and just everyone else is just so young, developing. They've got all these first round picks that you'd have to imagine either next season or the season after they will, put this together in a package for a star. A star will come to OKC. They're going to use Kemba this year to kind of, I don't know, I'm not sure what OKC is, what their goals would be for this year. I think with a not really much of a front court. I can't imagine them going very far in the West. It's obviously a tough kind of position, but look, I'm not going to say that they're going to tank this year, but I think, OKC are looking to use those picks that they have. Probably have their pick as one of their best. And look, I think Josh Giddey can work for them. I think he's not going to be the face of the franchise, but when you're using that pick 6, it's kind of what you are after. But for a man to average 11, 7, and 7 in a professional basketball league anywhere in the world is impressive. And for him to do that at 18 years old, he's now going into the most well-established league in the world in the NBA. It's obviously going to be a step up. But we saw LaMelo make the step last year. I don't see any reason why Josh Giddey can't do it this year.
For sure. And I mean, I know I've been bashing him a little bit, but I mean, he's a crafty finisher. And you don't average 11 by not scoring. So obviously he can score to some degree.
Yeah.
I just think there will be growing pains first year.
Hmm.
Defenders are faster. The windows for passes are smaller. And defenders can rotate quicker, close out quicker, so there's going to be less time. And like looking at some of his NBL film, where he's doing like he is kind of similar to LaMelo. He does a lot of like those one-handed passes to the corner. He loves passing to the corner. He can see a corner guy open like very quickly and very easily, but the closeout speed in the NBL not as fast as the NBA. So like obviously that's his success will be determined by the pieces around him. OKC has a billion picks and they have some pretty good young pieces. So I think that maybe the second half of the season, I think we'll see him maybe break out a little bit. But the first half, I don't think he'll play very much. I think especially if they keep Kemba, I think they'll play him very little and just try and develop him behind the scenes. Maybe get some more like weight on him. He is like a little bit lanky. But long term, I think he's a good pick. Even if he turns out just to be a Ricky Rubio, a bigger and smarter Ricky Rubio,
Smart as a stretch.
I think that will be a win. You look at another Aussie, Ben Simmons, like who's known for his basketball IQ. If Giddey can match that level of playmaking and not be a coward and actually shoot the ball, I'm joking, but if he can shoot the ball, then obviously he'll be in the league for a long time. So it's just whether or not he can get to that superstar status. Defensively, I think he'll be a solid defender. But yeah, it all depends on his shooting, I think, personally, or him putting on weight. Yeah.
Which are both things that he can achieve, I think.
Yeah, and I think probably his floor is maybe like a Joe Ingles. Okay,
Joe Ingles who is really good. who has mentored Josh Giddey over these past few years. I've heard. Josh Giddey obviously was at the NBA Global Academy in 2019, 2020, which is kind of a bit of an interesting way to go about getting into the NBA. But he's done it at 18. Pick 6 is an incredible effort, and the OKC clearly see the future in Josh Giddey, and so I'm very excited as an Australian NBA fan to see what he can do next season and in many years to come.
100%, and he'll be playing in the Olympics with aforementioned Joe Ingles as part of the national team, going for gold currently. They're playing. They just beat Italy, and I believe they had a game last night against, can't remember who, but I think they're 2-0 right now. Josh Giddey hasn't gotten crazy minutes. Patty Mills has been hogging all the guard minutes, but Olympic Patty Mills is just a different breed of human. So, but yeah, what do you think about Josh Giddey? I think that we'd like to hear what you guys have to say in the chat, in the comments, and yeah, I think the next topic, moving away from the draft a little bit. Ben Simmons, obviously, draft night. There was talk of him definitely being traded. Draft night has passed, not traded. So is Ben Simmons going to move before the season starts? I don't know. I think that it's a very interesting situation, but let's assume he does move, which is what we're hearing. Where do you think he goes?
Look, Philadelphia have been asking some crazy demands for Ben Simmons, the out of favor star at Philly, and I see absolutely no way where Ben Simmons returns to Philadelphia next year. From all reports that they've hardly been in contact, I don't think either party has any intention of joining back up for the next season. But kind of the issue with Ben Simmons, he signed that $194 million contract, 5-year deal last season. And then kind of for it to just so quickly turn, the narrative to flip in just one playoff run is quite remarkable. And look for me, I think the Phoenix Suns could make a deal possible if Chris Paul opts into his player option. He's kind of matching that contract with Ben Simmons. Obviously, Chris Paul 36, Ben Simmons 25, I believe. So the Suns will have to throw in picks, or I'm not sure who the Suns would want to let go out of this, finals. They pushed the Bucks to 6. They were up 2-0 in the finals. Would Chris Paul want to go to Philly? I believe he would. Chris Paul wants that ring, and I think if he goes to Philadelphia with Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, I think that gives him a better chance than what he had there in Phoenix. As for the exact details of the deal, we'd have to look into that a bit further. Might chuck up some graphics for you, but that is something that I could see work for, and like both parties would kind of benefit from Simmons joining Booker and Ayton, that kind of young core. His adds defense and playmaking, and I don't know, it'd be interesting how that would change up both teams.
For sure, and I think that Philly, their general manager Daryl Morey, obviously he was the general manager at Houston when they acquired Chris Paul, and they signed Chris Paul long term. So there's obviously a relationship there already, and I think Philly is literally a 3-point capable point guard away from making like a proper run, because they've been so close the last 3 or 4 years. That. And like Ben Simmons has consistently let them down in the playoffs, not being able to shoot his free throws. And I think honestly, if I'm the Sixers, it is maybe a little bit short-sighted, but Tobias Harris isn't getting younger, Embiid's not getting younger, and his injury problems will probably become more persistent as he gets older. And obviously, they still have like pretty good pieces in Matisse Thybulle, and like guys off the bench, but Chris Paul makes them win now. They will make a run at the Eastern Conference Finals, whether it's against the Bucks or the Nets. They will make a run with Chris Paul on their team. He instantly transformed OKC from probably a basement team who would probably win 20 games to making the playoffs. He transformed the Suns from like a 9th seed to making the NBA Finals. Chris Paul will make your team better. He will get the most out of your players, especially if they want to win. The Philly players want to win. Embiid wants to win. Tobias Harris wants to win. And I don't know how they get him, because Philly, it's all up to the general manager and how much he can squeeze out of trading Ben Simmons. Obviously, you're losing an all-NBA defender if you trade Ben Simmons, but
that's true.
I think the benefits of getting Chris Paul outweigh the negatives of losing Ben Simmons. Some other people that I think might trade for Ben Simmons, or that I want to trade for Ben Simmons. We obviously have OKC, who have a bunch of picks. Philly's asking a lot. I believe the number was 5 first-round picks from what I saw on Twitter, and no one has 5 first-round picks except OKC, who have like 17 first-round picks over the next 3 or 4 years. So does that necessarily make sense? They just drafted Josh Giddey, another Australian, and they have
Australian connection.
They have Kemba, they have Dort, and then a bunch of other young guards. Does it make sense if they get Ben Simmons? Maybe not, but I think Ben needs to go to a young team, and kind of rebuild his reputation a little bit, because it's been pretty tarnished the last couple years with his poor shooting. And I think OKC is a good place for that.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more, Mike. I think could sorry. Could OKC have drafted Josh Giddey knowing that they were kind of shopping after Ben Simmons? That kind of similar, 6'9", 6'8" kind of guard, high basketball IQ, both Australian. And they signed Kemba. Could Kemba be a part of the deal for Ben Simmons, kind of helping match contracts there a little bit? Does Kemba help Philly? Somewhat, probably not. But could you see like a Kemba 4 first rounds for Simmons? That seems like a bit massive overs, I think, for OKC there. But I definitely see the fit where Ben Simmons would lead a young core, give SGA some the kind of freedom where Simmons can free him up there offensively and kind of add that, adding that defensive support is huge for a young team where I think Simmons could definitely lead that side of the court and let the leave the offense, I suppose, to the others. But I think regardless, Simmons does need to work on his game offensively this offseason, which I think he will do. So whoever does sign Simmons, I think he'll come out with a point to prove. A lot of people have written him off after such a terrible playoff performance in terms of offense. I think defensively, you got what you expect from Ben Simmons.
Exactly.
But the hacker Ben was well and truly in force.
And I think OKC they've shown in the past they can develop players. Like Dort turned out to be a great 3-and-D guy. SGA developed really well. And even before that, I mean, they still have like pretty much the same front office as when they developed Westbrook, Durant, and Harden. So can the OKC front office and that team there develop Ben Simmons? I think that's probably the best place for him to go career-wise. And that's like such a good situation for him to just grow with the team. He doesn't have the expectation of you have to perform now in the playoffs, in the big moments, which is what he's been put into, and he hasn't really delivered there. But this team is maybe pushing for the 8th seed if they trade for Ben Simmons. I think it definitely makes sense. I don't know how much they'd have to give up because Philly's looking for a lot, and it might take Kemba, it might take Dort, and a bunch of picks. Honestly, they probably would ask for SGA, but I wouldn't trade him. But yeah, I think that trade makes a lot of sense for both parties. A trade that I think also would make more sense for the receiving team than Philly, and Philly probably would never do this because it's a Eastern Conference rival, is maybe send him up to Boston. Trade a Marcus Smart, who's an all NBA defender, on like a pretty reasonable contract. Trade a bunch of picks. I feel like if Boston, obviously Brad Stevens is the GM now, pretty much, or the president of basketball operations. I feel like Brad Stevens, he needs to make a home run or swing for a home run right now. Because his reputation, again, just like Simmons, has been pretty tarnished over the last couple of years with Boston underperforming with Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Kemba Walker and all those guys. So I think Boston would be a good fit as well. They've always needed like a good point guard. That's why they got Kyrie.
But a defensive point guard is kind of now the more of the. You've got Jaylen Brown, you've got Jason Tatum, 2 incredible offensive players. Jaylen Brown both ways. Tatum, he gets better and better every year, and he's only 23 years old. Just for people playing along at home, and so you add Ben Simmons, one of the best defensive guards in the league. I don't see how it's a loss for Boston. Obviously Marcus Smart's a fan favorite for many Boston fans, and Boston would have to give up. I'm not sure who else you'd throw in with that deal, but Boston would definitely have to spice that up for Philly. And considering they're division rivals, it would be tough to see that one going through. But we did see Al Horford go to Philly a couple seasons ago. This was a young 30s Al Horford. So I could definitely see Boston definitely benefiting from that deal. Acquiring that defensive guard that they need. but what they'd have to throw in to make it possible is that's the real question.
Who do you think's the most likely? Who do you think's the most likely team for him to go to? Like everything else considered.
Everything considered, most likely. It's just from seeing all the reports and all these things where Philly are demanding so much, will they eventually settle for a lesser deal from a team? Like, or will they? It's just so hard to tell where he goes, because I think that's 100% for certain that he is gone. I can't imagine him lining up for Philly at the start of the season.
Yeah.
But where does he go? It's a question. I wish I could say with confidence, a team, but with what Philly are asking, it's really hard to say at this point. Which
I'm going to choose the Suns. I think
okay.
the Suns, they're now in win now mode. Booker's entering his prime. Him and Book are friends. They don't need the picks. They have a bunch of young guys playing off their bench as well. They've shown they've got experience in the big moments. Obviously, we talked about Ben Simmons needing to get the pressure off of him, but Chris Paul makes so much sense for the Sixers, and that's probably the most beneficial for Philly to win now, which is they're also on a win now window. Other than that, then it just go the Suns, and then probably second most likely for me is OKC. Just if they actually truly want the draft picks, or if they're just creating a super high bounty just to squeeze every last ounce of trade value out of Ben Simmons.
For sure.
But yeah. And finally, we have Giannis, obviously Finals MVP, 2-time regular season MVP, all NBA player 5 years, Defensive Player of the Year. Do you think he's the best player in the league?
Do I think he's the best player in the league? I'm going to say yes. Individually, I think after the performance that we saw in the NBA Finals, actually, wait, Mike, take that back. I take that back. Giannis is not the best player in the league. The best player in the league was who he defeated in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Kevin Durant, I believe, is the best NBA player in the league. Now, I know what you're thinking. But look, Giannis can do it both ends of the court. That's undeniable. His Game 6 performance in the finals was one of the greatest of all time. That's not debatable. I did it with his team, which is just respect, just so much respect for bringing that championship to the team that drafted him, that showed all the faith in him. But for me, I think the KD. Boy, it's actually hard to agree with myself there. Yeah, Giannis is. I mean, Mike, what are you saying? Is Giannis the best player in the league at the moment?
I think it's just hard to argue that he isn't the best player in the league. He's in his prime. Right now, he's 28 and 27, 28. I don't know. But he's in his prime. Everyone else who's in the discussion is old, or they haven't done anything yet. So who I'm referring to is KD, LeBron, old, right? KD's getting older. He literally needed 2 all NBA players on his team, and without them, he couldn't win. And I know Harden was 80% healthy, but Harden he's an MVP, and so is KD. And KD also has Joe Harris, who's an elite shooter, a bunch of really, really good pieces, but Giannis was still able to beat him, obviously with the help of Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, all the boys there at the Bucks. But people seem to forget that averaging 32 and 12 or 32 and 14 and 5 is really hard. We just talked about Josh Giddey at leading the league in the NBL, averaging 7.5 assists. Giannis averages only 2 or 3 assists less than that, while getting 14 rebounds, while scoring 32 a game without a real strong 3-point game. And in these finals, we saw him hit a lot of tough mid-range shots in Game 5. So he's added that to his game. He only gets better. Literally every year, he's just getting better. And KD's getting worse because he's getting older. And LeBron's going to get worse because he's older. Luka hasn't done anything yet, so I know Luka averages crazy numbers too, but he hasn't made it to the conference finals, let
Yep.
alone the NBA finals. But he is younger, of course. So
Yeah.
yeah, Giannis, I feel like it's hard to argue that he isn't the best player in the league.
Yeah. Look, Mike. After listening to you talk there, I kind of came around to myself when I was making my initial point. It is very like near impossible to debate that he isn't the best player. In terms of both sides of the court. Proved it on the biggest stage. Came back from that hyperextension in the knee, like literally in the space of 2 weeks, which is absurd for a man of his size, but kind of shows the work ethic that he has. He has improved every season that he's played in the NBA. It'll be hard for him to top that next year. And it'll be very interesting with the dynamic of if Brooklyn stay healthy, if Philly do acquire a Chris Paul type, it'll be really hard to get out of that Eastern Conference with those kind of three super teams. Boston can get better. Jason Tatum's only going to improve. But look, at the moment, I think it is unanimous here that Giannis he's the best player in the league.
For sure. Just a random thought. We obviously just had a discussion about Ben Simmons. Him and Giannis kind of similar, like really similar. Both strong drivers, both all NBA
Mm,
defenders.
yep.
Just the biggest thing is mindset, and
Mm,
obviously Ben needs to work on his mindset, being more
yep.
aggressive. Just because Giannis has games where he just can't hit a free throw, and we saw that in the finals,
Yeah.
like when the
Yeah.
Suns were counting down on him. Um, Obviously, Giannis has a weakness there, and but he's working on it. But he still drives, and I think that's what's stopping Ben Simmons from becoming successful as
Which
well.
yeah, it's a great point because if you look at Brooklyn, they've got that stretch five in Brook Lopez, who is a great defensive player as well. I'm not sure the similarities between him and Embiid, but
Mm,
if Simmons did go to a team without such a dominant offensive threat in the paint, kind of clearing that out a little bit for Simmons to drive, and I'm sure Philly and Doc Rivers did try this, and it's all down to Simmons' mentality and his willingness to drive into an NBA paint, which is daunting. These guys are 7 foot whatever.
yeah,
It's not an easy task to finish around the rim. But if Simmons can kind of add that mid range, which we saw Giannis do so prolifically in their finals, there's I'm not going to say Simmons is going to be at that Giannis level because clearly Giannis was showing that scoring potential when he
yeah.
was winning those Defensive Player of the Years.
And I know we're
But
talking about Giannis right now, but another point you raised, Doc Rivers is the
mm,
coach, used to coach
mm,
Lob City back in the day, and Chris
this is true.
Paul, obviously very familiar with Doc Rivers. Again, fit that fit. I feel like that's the best trade that they can make right now for Chris Paul. Perfect fit.
Yeah.
You got
Actually, yeah.
you need yeah. I don't know why it hasn't happened. Anyways, but back to Giannis. There have been people that have said that Giannis has only won because of his teammates. Obviously, referring to the Atlanta Hawks series where Giannis hyperextended his knee, um, and they lost the first two games, or they lost two of the first few games with Giannis in there, and Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday obviously saved the day in games 5 and 6 against the Hawks. They've said that Giannis hasn't really won it by himself. His teammates have played a bigger role than people, I guess, see.
Mm,
But
mm,
to that, I say every championship team, it's a team sport. You need other pieces around you.
yeah.
Giannis has done it with pieces, homegrown pieces, and pieces who aren't as good as some of the other comparisons. Like you look at LeBron, he brought in AD, top 5 player in the league, top 5 defender. People were comparing him to Giannis. Is Chris Middleton top 5? No way. Is Drew Holiday a top 5 player? No way. And then you look at like the season before that with the Golden State Warriors, or no, the Toronto Raptors.
Mm,
Kawhi Leonard. I think that was a good story though. Good
yeah.
coaching.
Yeah.
That's pretty similar to the Bucks championship actually.
Yeah.
But
And a lot
before
of
that,
people did say Kawhi was the best player in the league at that time. It is kind of time, like whoever wins that finals, who is the star of that team,
mm,
kind of attracts um, that kind of I don't know the
The
what's the word?
title of
The
best player in
title,
the
the
league.
title of best player in the league, and LeBron has held that for so long, and now obviously heading towards the end of his career, we will see a lot of new names thrown up there, and like the reason I started this kind of conversation with Kevin Durant because I can see the Brooklyn Nets winning the title next year, and I can see the shift, the public perception kind of switching back to KD. We can't forget what KD did in those semifinals. Literally, half an inch away from putting his team into the conference finals,
Which is
pretty much
insane.
single-handedly.
Insane.
Like that
Crazy
size
thing to
18,
do.
size 18 foot. But KD that series was putting up insane numbers. He's hands down, in my opinion, the best offensive player in the league. He's unguardable. And I can see that the shift switching again next season with another KD ring potentially.
I feel like you're right, but I mean, the thing with KD that I feel like he should have tried to escape with the Nets is he's always had two All NBA teammates whenever he's made the finals.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. I mean,
like
you're right.
all NBA caliber teammates. You go
Yeah,
back to OKC, Russ, Harden. You go to Golden State, Clay, Steph, Draymond.
yeah,
Now you're with the Nets. If he does do it next year, people are going to be saying Harden
yeah,
again and Kyrie.
yeah.
So does that make him the best player? It's very hard to say.
Mm,
Overall team impact, Giannis is greater, but again, they built the system around Giannis, so coaching is obviously a big part of that.
yeah,
And we saw in the Nets series, KD was going right at Giannis and scoring right over him. So Giannis's
yeah,
defense
yeah,
one on one there wasn't good enough to stop KD because his shot
yeah,
making is so insane. But then
yeah,
on the flip side, KD can't really guard Giannis either.
yeah, yeah. Exactly, exactly.
So I mean, it'd be hard to say, but assuming just team value, like if you lost Giannis, the Bucks are screwed.
Yeah,
If they
yeah.
lost KD and Kyrie and Harden was healthy, the Nets have a
But
chance,
that's they'd still compete for sure.
100%. So
Like Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton wouldn't be capable of. Yeah, I think
yeah,
if you took KD and Giannis out of their teams, I think you'd probably have Brooklyn winning. I
yeah,
mean, make for a
yeah.
good series. Make for a good series.
Yeah, and I think if you put Giannis on literally any team, same with KD, but like if you put Giannis on any team, he makes that team a contender for the finals every single year. Same with KD though, but I'm not 100% on that because again, KD hasn't done it without all-star teammates. If you put a KD in OKC again with all young pieces, can he make the finals? I don't know. I don't think so. But with Giannis, I feel like they could.
Yeah, that is a good point you make there,
It's
Mike.
all
It's a great
opinion
point.
though. So
It
let
is.
us know what
It
you
is.
think in the chat and in the comments. Was there anything you wanted to add?
No, I think that's all from me. That's all from me today.
All right, so that's those are our takes on Giannis. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's stream and everything. We're gonna try and make this a regular thing. I know we said that last time, but and we didn't make that happen. But we're gonna try and make this a regular thing. And if you guys are interested in content like this, a morning show, NBA morning show for you Americans out there, then chuck us a subscribe, and yeah, and we'll get you more content.